At any rate, we're going to get started. We'll get you out of here at 10, I promise. We got an action-packed agenda. Our breakfast toast this morning is oops. June's a good month to start a new diet. So, are you a breakfast toast?
There's donuts in the kitchen.
Oh, there's donuts in there?
I'll take that.
Okay, did you bring those, Ryan?
Yeah.
I take it back. Ryan Hoffman, Wholesale Capital Mortgage, is our breakfast toast. I'm still figuring this out. Oh, did you bring something too?
No, I'm in charge of the coffee, so if you're wide awake all day long, I'll take credit for that. If you can't stay awake, I don't know who made the coffee.
Excellent. All right. Well, with Shelley's departure into sales, I'm still getting our calendar straight on all these managerial duties. So, anyway, well, thank you for the donuts, Ryan. So, where'd Ryan go?
I'm right here.
Oh, there you are.
I'm sitting down for once.
We moved our agenda around a little bit, so Brian's going to take a few minutes to talk about our new phones. So, Captain.
Okay, as you guys are all aware, we've been putting out new phones in all the desks. Moreno Valley was just actually switched over from Panasonic to the new Cisco system last week, actually. So all of the old Panasonic phones have been removed. You only have one phone on your desk now, finally. Phones have been, for the most part, working pretty well. There's been a couple glitches here and there that I've been working through. There's been a commonality of questions that I've been getting a lot of, so I'm going to cover some of the basics real quick. I'll then post the same information on the website. One of the questions I've had is, how do you put calls on hold? On your phones, there's a button that looks like a hand. If you just press that button, it puts your call on hold. Simple as that. To pick that call back up again, just press the blinking light that'll be on the top right where the green lights are currently. And then transferring calls. The easiest and the recommended way to transfer calls, should you need to do that, is by using the button that says Be Expert, or Blind Transfer. On your phone, you'll notice there are 4 buttons below the screen, the LCD screen, and those buttons are not labeled. That's because those buttons become whatever it says on the screen directly above the buttons. So when you're on the phone, those buttons will dynamically change depending on what options are available to you. If you'll notice, right now it doesn't say Expert or even Be Expert. If you're on a phone call, it will. You might have to scroll to the right using those arrow keys that are directly below the 4 buttons that are below the screen. But if you scroll left and right, there are more options that you can do, one of which is Be Expert. There's also a regular Expert that's a button on there too. That transfers calls as well, but that lets you talk to the person first. Might be useful if you're about to blindside somebody with an angry customer and you want to give them a heads up first. So in those cases, you would press Expert, dial the person's extension, wait for them to answer, and you could then preface the call by saying, hey, I've got Joe on the phone, he's really upset, here you go. Press transfer again, call's done. If you use Be Expert, it's a one-step process. You'll press Be Expert, dial the extension, and that's it, call's on its way. Calls that want to go to your phone or your cell phone or voicemail, when you guys get phone calls, you have a couple choices on what you want to have happen with those calls. For the most part, I think I've already set up everybody that's requested to have their call go to their cell phone if they don't answer in the office. That's useful for you guys, especially if you don't like checking 5 different voicemails. So in essence, what I can have it do is if somebody calls your extension in the office and you guys aren't there, I can have it automatically go to your cell phone, in which case the caller will get your cell phone's voicemail if you don't answer. Makes it handy so you only have to check one voicemail. If you don't like that for whatever reason, you can have it go to the voicemail here in the office, and then I can have it send you an email with your voicemail as an attachment, rather than you having to call into the office or physically be here to check that voicemail. Another option too is when you make outbound calls from your phone here in the office, I can have it say whatever caller ID you want. The most common request is to have your cell phone on there instead of the office phone number when you make outbound calls. If you guys want that, just let me know, and I can take care of that. The easiest way to get any of these requests to me is to send an email to help@cdpre.com. Again, help@cdpre.com. That creates a ticket in my help desk system, which has metrics and some other things to make sure that your work gets done in a timely fashion. And also coming with the phones is the ability to have a phone at your house. Some of you have already contacted me and requested that. My goal is to start deploying those phones this week. Drew has been my guinea pig, so to speak. I gave him a phone, he took it home, and it's been butter so far. The past 3 weeks, I've been working from home a lot, and I've been using the phone to test it pretty heavily, and it's been working quite well. I haven't had any glitches. It's been fine. So, for those of you guys who don't understand what I'm saying is, you don't have to be in the office to have a phone that's connected to the office system. You can have one of these phones that you see on your desk at your house. And if the front desk takes a call for you and they transfer it to your extension, it'll ring at your desk and at home. Okay, so you can be at home and work seamlessly. Everyone understand what I'm saying? You don't have to be in the office to work. You can get your office phone calls at home using a phone that we'll give you. Similarly, you can also make outbound calls that look like you're in the office even when you're not, or intercom calls. You know, you need to get a hold of Lance, you got a question about some form you need to fill out, or some advice on how to handle a particular buyer. You simply dial his extension. Similarly, if Lance is working from home, or if he's at one of the other offices and has a phone there, you just dial his extension. You don't have to know where he is or even care. The phone system will find him for you. So that's a couple of the different changes that we're having right now as far as the phones go. Covina is about to port over themselves. They'll be on the new system June 27th. So that's right around the corner. We did Redlands. Redlands was the first one we did, and then we did ourselves. Covina is next. Following that is Claremont. Santa Ana has been on the new system, same thing with REO Asset. Once everyone's on the new system, the receptionists will be shared between all the offices. So it'll give some a little bit of additional call volume handling, because if the front desk is busy here and it's first of the month, anyone at the other offices, the other reception type people will be able to back them up and take those calls. So that should provide a little bit better phone coverage if you guys have called in and had to wait a little while. So does anybody have any questions about the phones? Okay, there is, yes.
Directory list.
Directory list. There is a list of extensions which Anna is going to update and send out to everybody. I gave her the extensions for all the offices. That's a common request that is in the works. I'm working on a way to have the extensions accessible, or the directory accessible directly from the phones. That is not working yet. So at some point down the road, I hope to make that available so you don't have to carry around a piece of paper. You can just look up somebody's phone, what their extension is directly in the phone itself. So there is quite a few other common questions that I get. I'm only touching on the ones that seem to be most relevant to you guys, the agents. There are other questions. I have a fact that I've been building. It'll be on the website here in the next day or so, because I keep adding to it, and it'll have all kinds of other goodies on there that will, tell you how to do this or how to do that, and answer a lot of frequently asked questions. Any other questions? I got one other thing then before I give it back to Lance, and that is internet speed. We ordered, about a month ago, we ordered a new service, and the new service is approximately 10 times as fast as the service we have now. It's a big enough deal that the reason it's taking so long to install is they're going to literally trench the streets to run fiber optics to the building in order to bring that service here. So when that service comes, you guys are going to see a dramatic improvement in the speed of internet access here in the building. So that's something to look forward to as well. Really, that's all I got.
Okay. No other questions on the phone? Okay. Does anybody have any challenges with the phones? Nobody. Wow. Okay. Well, let me mention a challenge, because it has been a little bit of a concern. So if you guys hear this over the next couple of days, please let me know. And that has been hold times. If you're calling into the office and you're getting put into kind of like a hold queue, it's a new feature we have with this phone. We didn't really have it before. Before, if the receptionist was busy, you would kind of get that, thank you for calling Coldwell Banker, we'll get with you as soon as we're available, and then as soon as the phone was available, the next person will pick up. We've been fine-tuning the new system, so we've had some challenges with 2, 3, 4, 5 minute hold times, which is highly unusual. It's been probably a year and a half or 2 years since we've had any challenges, because when I call in and I get put on hold for more than 20, 30 seconds, I'm pissed. and we haven't had that for a long time. So we are tweaking that. So if you are personally experiencing some hold times, or if you have a client that says, hey, I was just on hold for 6 minutes, we're working on that. Brian made some changes yesterday, and ideally we're going to eliminate it or keep it to such a minimal level nobody will even be concerned about it. You know, they'll be on hold for 10 seconds or something like that. So at any rate, so that's where we are with the phones. And I'm glad to hear, I mean, it's kind of a non-event, which I guess is a good thing. I was kind of worried that, you know, we have other challenges. So if you do have any challenges, let us know. Okay, our calendar on the website, is anybody using it? Is anybody going to one hand, two, three? Cool. All right. Well, we're going to continue to post it. I had a couple of emails yesterday and again, I was a little late on sending out our reminder notice that we're having a meeting today, which is typical for me. I think I sent it out at 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon. So I had at least 2 people send me an email earlier in the day that says, are we having a meeting tomorrow? And the answer was yes, but I'm telling you, if you have that question, not that you can't call me or email me, but if you go to our calendar, if it says we're having a meeting today, we're having a meeting today, okay? So we're trying to train everybody to go that direction and take a look at it. Same thing with the portals. The portals that we have, you know, basically it's not just the calendar, but it has all the videos. I mean, we're videoing every single one of these meetings. I go through about every other week and kind of take a look at who's seen. The views are minimal, but people are watching them. Okay, I don't know who's watching them. I'm assuming it's maybe someone in here or maybe somebody who missed the meeting. But we've got, how many videos do we have on the website now, Brian? About 100?
A lot.
We've got about 100 videos on our YouTube channel. Some of them are meetings like this. A lot of them are training contracts and stuff. We haven't had as many views as I would have liked, but right now we're at about 2,800 views, which I think is pretty good, considering I think the only people that would be searching those are probably agents within our office. So at any rate, my next question would be, is anyone using them? Other than the 2,600 people that did. Is anybody in this room gone and watched a training video on them? Couple, 3 of you? Okay. I know if you've missed the lead router class, for example, who's not on lead router that wants to be on lead router right now? One of you? Okay. But what I'm going to ask you to do is go to the website and watch the 2 videos that we did on lead router. If you go do that first and then come see me, then we'll get you back in. And that's where those training videos are. Okay, well hopefully we'll start to get a little bit more buy-in on that. I mentioned, I think at the last meeting, that we're going to do some stuff with Google AdWords. To be completely honest with you, we haven't done that yet, but I'm going to continue to put it on this slide so that hopefully next month I can say, hey, this is what we've done with Google AdWords and this is what it's doing for our website as far as hits and stuff like that. We've kind of got a plan in place, we just haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. Who uses Google Places? Keep your hands up. Where is your place? If you're using Google Places, is this your place? 23631 Sunnyman Boulevard? If it is, stop. This cannot be your place. Okay? We've had a big challenge with, we can only have, we are Coldwell Banker Pioneer Real Estate, this is our place. Shirley works at Coldwell Banker Pioneer Real Estate, she wants to be on Google, this cannot be your place. Because we would have 85 of us that would someone would type in Coldwell Banker Pioneer Real Estate, and we'd have 85 places. This is Stephen's place, this is Michael's place, this is Paul's place. If you want to have a Google place, you can't have it as this place, okay? You have to do it elsewhere. I don't know if you want to make it your home, or I don't even know what the appropriate way to do that is. But literally, this has been a challenge for a couple of years. Stephen and Mike Boab were the main violators, and seriously, and it's a problem, you know, because this is the deal. They're looking for us. They get Stephen pops up, and guess whose phone number it is to call? Not the office number, Stephen's number. It's Mike's number. So at any rate, so please don't do that. I know at least 2 or 3. Debbie recently did it. You might not even have known you'd done it. I got a postcard that says, "Hey, Debbie wants this to be her place." So at any rate, please help me out with that because it's been a problem. Everybody know what I'm talking about? Okay, you don't even know what I'm talking about? Okay, good. All right. But I'm not going to tell you. All right. So anyway, monthly sales awards. I don't have my clicker, so I got to go back and forth. First of all, top listing agent for May of 2012 is 0. We have no top listing agent for May of 2012 because nobody listed, and correct me if I'm wrong, but nobody in the office listed more than one property last month. I'm sorry, but you cannot be the top listing agent if you only listed one house. If you listed two, they're both in the MLS in the month of May? Anybody else with more than two? Let's take a vote. Is 2 listings in a month qualify to be the top listing agent? I was thinking we need to have a minimum standard of maybe 3. I certainly made a distinction that if you only got one and by the way, we had a few people. What was the total number of listings that we took the whole month, Drew? Was it 16? Yeah, 16 listings. Got 70 some odd agents here in the office. That includes Dwayne and my stuff and Dwayne's stuff. You know, there's been months in the past where Dwayne and I alone had 25 listings put into the system. The entire office had 16 listings. So at any rate, maybe I need to come up with a minimum. I frankly was a little shocked when I realized, at least based upon the reports I saw, that we only, we had a bunch of people with one. Not a bunch, we had a few people with one. So anyway, I'm going to forego the top listing agent of the month. Now, on a positive note, the top selling agent, we had a whole bunch of people in the office that had a good month last month. A whole bunch, okay? Closing 1 deal, 2 deals, and I might even be wrong. I've got 6 agents tied for second. I think it might have been 7 or 8 agents that basically closed 3 transactions. But I didn't see Wilson. Is Wilson out selling a house? Okay, well, Wilson is our top selling agent of the month for May, so give Wilson a hand. And again, for those of you that were, neck and neck and in the running for sales agent, it was a good closing month. We had it was a lot of people, yeah.
Yes,
right?
My best in 2 years.
Numbers were good.
Yeah.
So I will tell you, this scares me a little bit. We need inventory. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But at any rate, if you've got that pipeline built, take advantage of it. And again, congratulations to our agents that did have a good month, but didn't quite hit the mark that Wilson hit. So, lead router. Just real briefly on lead router, we have 35 agents total in the entire company, all 5 offices, who are lead router eligible right now. I'm in lead router every day, all day for the most part. Not looking at it necessarily, but I'm in it every day. I glance over when I'm in the office multiple times a day. For the most part of the 35 agents that are eligible, of those, let me rephrase that, of the 35 agents that are in the system, there's normally never more than 20 or 21 or 22 that are actually eligible at any given time. Of those 22, for the most part, it appears as though about 5 or 6 of the agents are getting the bulk of the leads. So even those 20 or so agents that are eligible, for whatever reason, they're not picking up leads. So if you have any interest in lead router, you know what you got to do to get back in this. And by the way, I was just looking at Steve here for a second. We have had some glitches with lead router. There has been some challenges with the way things are being routed. Some really unusual kind of ghosts in the machine sort of stuff. If you're experiencing anything like that, your phone rings and nobody's there, you know it's the lead router caller ID. Or if you're eligible but your phone hasn't rang, like, wait a minute, I'm always eligible and my phone hasn't rang once. How come I'm not one of the people that are, those 6 agents that are, let me know. Steve is a good example. Steve and I sat down with him and went through his settings at least a couple of times. Everything's right. Did a couple test calls. Things weren't coming through properly. So we've got a ticket open with the lead router folks to see what's going on. But at any rate, take advantage of that. Real quick on the market data. This is CRMLS, 24 months. Property values are stable. They've actually gone down 4.1% on average if you compare today's values with 2 years ago in May for all of CRMLS. But again, you look at that chart, property values are stable as they can be. Inventory, you guys are familiar with this enough. The red bar being available, blues being pending, screens being closed. I thought this was kind of interesting. This is from 2 years ago. There's 40% less properties on the market today than there were 2 years ago, 40%. Having said that, there's 66 more properties under contract today than there were 2 years ago. So for those of us that 2 years ago were having a hard time selling properties, are the buyers engaged? Yes, they're engaged. There's 66% more properties under contract, which kind of surprised me, at least for the month of May. There's only 4% more that were sold, but we certainly should have a good July as far as closings are concerned. These are the numbers behind the charts. There's 34,000 properties in the entire MLS that are available. If you go back a year ago, it's 58,000. If you go back 2 years ago, it's 57,000. That's where you get that 40% drop in actives. We had great openings. Again, 11,660 open escrows or pending contracts in the month of May. Pretty darn good. People are selling. We're starting to see that. You know, our title and reps and mortgage reps are saying, yeah, we're seeing closings. We're smiling. Okay.
I know Stephen, press said that there was shortage of the houses.
We're going to short. Boy, what a segue. Paul said, who said this?
The press.
The Press Enterprise? We have a shortage of houses. This is our supply and demand. Thank you for the segue, Paul. Houston, we have a problem. Let's just forget the chart and go right to the number. That's the number. We have 1.6 months supply of inventory in all of Sierra MLS. 1.6 months supply. Compared to 2 years ago, it was 6.7 months supply. I don't normally quote NAR because I think they're not worthy of quoting most of the time, but I believe NAR says a healthy real estate market is supposed to somewhere between 6 and 8 months of inventory. Not that we were healthy 2 years ago, but 1.6 supply, 1.6 months supply of inventory. Is that a problem?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a big problem. It scares the hell out of me. So as excited as we may be about pending sales and opening stuff, unless we get some inventory to sell, it is going to be a very, very difficult August and September and October and November. So for those of us that have had a good second quarter, because the reality is, I don't think anybody really had a fantastic first quarter of this year. Second quarter certainly has stacked up a little bit better as far as putting some money in the bank and closing some transactions. You better have a plan for the third quarter and the fourth quarter as it relates to these inventory challenges.
I don't know if you were aware of the speaker that was speaking in Covina yesterday.
I was not.
There was a bank or it was an affiliate of HUD. I don't know which, because I was doing other stuff while I was there, but they gave a big presentation about accepting and submitting offers on these HUD properties and certain rules you have to do. But one of the things they said, which got my attention, was they said for all of first quarter they were averaging about 3 to 4 properties a week of assignments to them. And they said so far this month they've been getting on average of about 20 to 30 a week now.
These are HUD properties?
Yeah. I don't know if they're a HUD outsourcer or if it's HUD themselves.
No, they'd be. This is one of the local listing brokers, which is good. I haven't heard that. I'll need to contact our local HUD folks and see whether we're seeing the exact same thing here locally. I hope that's true. I know the Fannie Freddie inventory has been loosened up a little bit over the last couple of weeks. And when I mean a little bit, I mean a little bit. Instead of getting no properties in the second half of May, I think for the first 10 or 12 days of this month, I think we've gotten 4, okay? Which I guess is a 400% improvement, or more than what we had before, but still not a lot. So I hope what Ryan is saying is accurate or being relayed correctly. We need houses to sell. I mean, we really need houses to sell. Yeah.
Jim ran a statistic yesterday for me because I was building a chart. Guess how many of all the inventory that's available, guess how many, what the percentage of REO properties on the market currently is?
10?
15.
15%. Did you know that? Did you ever look that up?
I can feel it.
Guess how many of them were short sales?
70?
75.
53. And then the rest were standard sales. So it gives you, and that was Moreno Valley specific. But my question is, so what are we doing about it? I mean, what have you got great ideas to get properties sold? Because we've all, it cracked me up yesterday when Chase was here and they were talking about how we're going to take you to job fairs, we're going to take you places, and we're going to get you buyers. Anybody have a problem getting buyers? I don't have a problem getting buyers. But I have a problem getting offers accepted on buyers, so what are you doing about it? Anybody got any bright ideas?
I know that an agent in my area, I'm not from this area, but not too far, but she was actually doing a community garage sale. She was farming an area and set up a tent and did a community garage sale, and it went very well. She got lots of leads on that. So that's an idea, to set up and she had flyers, so they had to stop at the place to pick up a map to do all the garage sales, and so she put this all together, and she got some really good feedback.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, to more directly answer Shelley's question, this is, this is challenging, because even with those HUD properties, or even if the REOs start to hit the market again anytime soon, and even if they hit in large numbers, that's not going to be a solution, an immediate solution to this 1.6 is what I'm looking for. That's not going to be an immediate solution to that. If you look at all of the REO inventory, if you get REO agents and HUD brokers basically getting excited, hey, my God, the floodgates have opened up, we're starting to see inventory, the vast, vast majority of that inventory won't even be on the market until probably sometime next year. Okay? The only ones that will hit the market rapidly are the ones that are vacant, which is a much smaller number. So they've got to go through evictions, they've got to go through valuations. So those properties aren't going to be on the market anytime soon. So that basically leaves us, unless there's another option, I'll be willing to hear it, that leaves us two other options for listed inventory. Standard sales, let's go out and get them. They may be reluctant because, maybe the market's starting to improve, maybe I'll wait. But you got the standard sales and the short sales. If 53% of the listings on the market today are short sales, that number actually should be significantly larger. Okay? Who believes we're going to see more short sales over the next couple of years? Now, for those of you that have your hand up, be honest, who really wants to go get that business? Okay, well, good, because that's where we need to be. What we're going to do internally as an office is, and we've been talking, I mentioned this at the Chase thing yesterday, we've been talking about this for a long time and haven't done it. We're going to do it. Hold my feet to the fire. Middle of July, we're going to have something on the date, on the calendar on the date. And we're going to, I don't know, maybe we'll do them once a month. I originally thought maybe every other month. But we're going to have, for lack of a better description, short sale seller symposiums. Okay? Specifically marketing to sellers who are potential short sale candidates. Get them into the office and get these people off the fence. Now we can talk about, the buyers don't really want to do them, and we don't necessarily want to do them. We'd rather do an REO, we'd rather do a standard sale. Well, heck, if 50-60% of the inventory out there is going to be short sale, we really don't have a choice. So, and in my opinion, I think a lot of the short sale candidates out there that are truly viable short sellers, I just don't think they're thinking that direction. I think they've been trying to do a loan mod for 2 or 3 years and been frustrated, and they're maybe, frankly, just on that fence between we'll just wait. We'll just wait it out until the bank comes and locks me out. I'm hoping that the banks are going to do more of a proactive push. I had a long conversation with the guys at Chase yesterday when they were here, and one of the things that they had talked about was, because Chase has been fairly aggressive, sending out letters, please engage in a short sale, we'll more or less get you pre-approved, which is not actually accurate. We'll pay you money to move out. I'd like to see them basically do the exact opposite. Send out those letters that say, not the exact opposite, but in addition, send out those letters that say, hey, your short sale's approved at this price. If you bring us a buyer at this price under these terms, we'll guarantee you we can close escrow in 45 days. I think if they were to do something like that, that in effect would stimulate the sellers to say, okay, that's cool. And frankly, it might stimulate some of these buyers and you to actually be excited about going to short sale. Of course, the big challenge is you open a short sale escrow today, in good conscience, can you tell the buyer that they're going to be in their house before Christmas?
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if you're not telling the buyer, hey, guess what? We just got your offer accepted. Oh, and by the way, remember I told you that if you were planning on celebrating Christmas in this house, that you might want to make other plans. You're probably not doing your client a service. You need to prepare them, which is pretty tough. It's June. Most people are thinking about being in their house before the end of summer, so maybe they could use the pool or have the kid's birthday party there. They're certainly thinking about being in the house before Christmas. So at any rate, we're going to start pushing. We're going to focus so much on short sales for the balance of this year. Of course, the leads and stuff that we generate are basically going to be pushed back out to you guys. Whatever you're doing individually, whether you're, who's using foreclosure radar, going out knocking on doors with defaulted property, I see 3 hands going up. There should be 30 hands going up. The fact that there's, well, again, with the exception of Rose apparently, anybody else list more than 1 house last month? You listed more than 1? More than 2?
Are you running stuff that's already closed?
I'm only listing properties with a list date from May 1 to May 31st,
No matter what the status is?
irrespective of the status.
Oh,
Okay, well, anybody list more than 2? Okay. Is it unheard of to list 3 or 4 or 5, 6 properties in a given month? Of course not. Go out and get that business. Get that short sale business. That's there. Yeah.
I door knock maybe once or twice a week on the average, and I'm getting a feel from most homeowners that as the market stabilizes, they're going to be putting their house on the market. And because they're talking about maybe, since prices are low, buying something else. I wonder if anybody else got that feeling, because I'm getting it.
I generally think that there's confidence in the market, certainly on the buying side. I think part of the challenge, and if that's going to motivate some of those standard sellers out there, taking Shelley's statistics, about 15 are REO and about 55, let's say, are short sale transactions. So by my calculation, that's 70% of the market. That means 30% of the market is a standard sale in one form or another. I would think it certainly would entice that segment of the market. A short seller might be a little more challenging because even if the market goes up 10 or 15%, their net situation is probably, in the most part, going to be the same. But other than the lack of inventory, does generally, what's the temperature of the room? Is the market improving? I think the market's improving. I think the consumer confidence, specifically on the buying side of the transaction, is absolutely off the hook. I think they're looking at this, and I know I've had this chart up, but for those of you that have your hands up, I got you. Just give me a minute. I think the consumers see this. I know we've been throwing this up on the board for 6 months. The consumers see the value, especially the consumers that have been renting houses. You know, I mean, we've resisted doing this on the property management side, but the reality is if I didn't feel a certain conflict with the owners of our rental properties, I should be sending tenant letters to every single tenant that we have renting saying, why are you renting this house when we could sell you a house that's maybe in a better location, in better condition for an equal or smaller mortgage payment? Right?
Can you do that?
You certainly can do it. I can't do it to my own clients, but it's really easy. Get a non-owner occupied list from the county, and Chris doesn't want me to tell you. Get a non-owner occupied list from the county. Go knock on those doors. You've got a pretty good chance you're going to be talking to a tenant, and send letters to those tenants. Put together a little marketing piece. The rent versus buy marketing piece, which we've used for years. And to be honest with you, a lot of times those rent versus buy marketing pieces, when we were sent a rent versus buy marketing piece over here, it didn't make sense. You know, you could not convince a tenant, because number one, the tenant couldn't afford anyway. If you're sending a rent versus marketing piece to a tenant over here, there's value there, because it makes absolute sense. Rose, you've had your hand up for a long time. Talk louder.
But I've run through sellers that are saying, I'm going to wait because the market's getting better, so I want more money for my property. That's what I'm running across.
But how do you counter that? I mean, so if they wait until their house is worth $250,000 and they're going to buy something
Right.
else, what is what they're going to buy going to be worth when their house is worth $250,000?
Yep.
The house they want to buy is worth $400,000. So if they've got this much equity, it makes sense to sell now and buy now.
Right.
Or better yet, hold on to what they've got and buy something now. And so if you know that, when you're knocking on doors and you're running into those people that are saying, well, I just want to wait for the market to get better, you got to ask them why.
Yeah, that
If
argument.
you're going to buy something else,
That
if you're
argument.
going to buy something else, then now's the time.
But that only makes sense
If you're buying
the
up.
seller's not going to buy another
Right.
property.
If you're buying up, it makes sense. If you're
Right.
buying down, it doesn't.
Well, most people, I don't think most people are buying down. You think most people are buying down?
No, I don't, but I'm saying if you're buying up, because the margin, if everything goes up 10%, a $400,000 house goes up 10, that's 40 grand. $200,000 house goes up, how much?
Not even that much.
So, $20,000. So the margin increases as the values go up. Now is still the best time to buy up,
Absolutely,
ever.
absolutely. So, and another thing, if you've attended any of Bruce Norris's stuff in the last, several years, one of the challenges is as these people here were losing their house or short selling those houses, for the most part, those people as sellers, traditionally most sellers sell their property and do what?
Buy another one.
Buy another house, okay? Well, that hasn't been happening. We haven't had sellers buying other houses for 3-4 years, okay? Now, as we're starting to get some of those standard sales, and again, I believe Shelley's numbers is accurate, if 30% of our sellers to these days are equity sellers, or at least some sort of equity, the chances are...
Those are flips.
Okay, they may be flips, but that's okay, because what do flips do for us, guys? Okay, let's be selfish. We need transactions, okay? We just need unit sales. As long as we have unit sales, and again, we've seen it. This is why if you're taking anything away from this that says, oh, geez, this is a little gloom and doom, this number is gloom and doom. This number here says people want to buy houses, guys. Everybody in this office, if you're even trying a little bit, you should have more buyers than you can find houses for right now. Good, qualified, solid buyers. If that doesn't fall into your wheelhouse, you need to come see me, because you're doing something wrong, and what you're doing wrong is not working, and I mean not working. So I mean this is good news. I mean the buyers are engaged, but again, if you go back to the number of sellers, which is why I am excited, because if you've got equity sellers at 30%, and they're even taking a look at this chart, which I still love this. There is a reason to counter that argument that says I want to wait. Unless they want to wait, maybe it's just a rental property and they've had it for years and they think values have recovered, and maybe they thought about selling it as the knife was falling, but now things are stable. I get that. I talk to our landlords all the time about that. And there's a few of them that thought about selling over the last couple of years. They feel a little, which again is a good thing, they feel more confident in the marketplace today than they did 6, 8, 10, 12 months ago. Now they're thinking, well, maybe it's not that bad. I'll hold on to this rental a little bit longer. Or maybe I'll buy another one, right? I mean, I think 30 or 28% of all the transactions that we're closing are cash buyers, cash investors, which I know the lenders in the room don't like to hear that, but
90% of them are Chinese.
okay. So, and I'm getting phone calls left, right, and sideways, and I have mixed feelings about this, from people that are representing large investors, hedge fund types investors, basically saying, I'll buy anything, okay? I'll buy anything. What do you got? Send me your list. If you go down to the courthouse steps now, the traditional guides, and I always use Bruce Norris as kind of a point of reference because he's the closest person to that type of business model that I know. Guess how many houses they're buying at the courthouse steps now? None. You know why?
West Point.
Because there's other people out there that are paying retail at the courthouse steps. You know, people like Bruce and traditional real investors, they've got to have a margin. They've got to have a 70% or at least a 30% differential to even have that make sense. The properties at the courthouse steps are selling retail. Okay? Now, how many of those are going to be flips? I don't know. The part of this that kind of scares me is, from what I'm hearing, a lot of these agents who are working with these larger, pool buyers, they're not buying to flip. They're buying to hold. Okay? And why are they buying to hold? Because the market has bottomed out in these marketplaces, and we're basically, for the most part, in most markets, somewhere around the 1999 to 2001 price points. Purchase makes sense. Yes.
Thank you, because we were going off on something else. I want to go back to the short sales.
Yes.
And the door knocking and trying to talk people into the short sales that maybe think that they can't buy again. It's important to let these people know that if they do a short sale and they don't have any late payments, as long as they're not taking advantage of the market, they can purchase again.
Correct.
And that is a very good point to make, because they may think, oh, it's going to ruin my credit, blah, 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 blah. If they're staying current and they're seriously in a position where they need to get out of that house and it's too big and they want to either downsize or they need to move to a different location, those are examples of not taking advantage of the market and being able to purchase again.
Right.
But that's
The short sale market,
certain
quite
market.
honestly, as an agent in this office, I mean, you're relegated basically to two marketplaces right now. You're either going to work with buyers and you're going to go out and do the best you can, and there's many of you that have done very, very well with that, or you're going to work on the listing side of the transaction, which it looks like is going to be 50 to 70% short sale and the rest standard sales. So do whatever you've normally done to go get your standard sales on the short sale market. Again, not on our occupied list. Foreclosure radar. Again, I haven't set a date yet. We will do a distressed property homeowner symposium, which is going to basically try to pull short sale sellers off the fence and see what we can do to engage those. Because those at least we can get open and we can put some listings on the board. Shelley.
Well, I wanted to go back to my original question, because I'm just really curious. What are you guys doing to get your offers accepted? I mean, there's some tricks. I don't know if everybody's aware of them, but there's some really great little tricks going on right now that I don't think most people know about. I mean, so short sales are all great and wonderful if you can get the listings, but we've already just looked at the fact that we only had 16 listings in here last month, which means most of us are working with buyers, right? So how many of you are working with an FHA buyer who needs closing costs? Right, and are you getting your offers accepted?
No.
So why are you working with FHA buyers that need closing costs? Well, why don't you consider, but they're not getting their offers accepted. You're gonna write 35 offers before you get one accepted, maybe if you're lucky, and that's gonna be a short sale, right? But what about lender credits?
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
That's
I
what
mean,
we're doing with Cory.
I've been, every buyer that I've talked to now that wants to go FHA or VA, and they want it, or conventional for that matter, and they need help with closing costs, I'm telling them, I'm not gonna work with you unless you do a lender credit. Here's how you do a lender credit. You want-
Absolutely, and the rates, you know what, the rate's a little bit higher, but because rates are so great, it's a fabulous idea. And I think the max we can go is like 2.4 or something like that. That just about
Which is
covers,
most of it.
that just about covers everything. That's what we're doing with Cory.
Yeah, right, exactly, I know, that's
Well,
what I am.
and 5% conventionals. I mean, we're
Yeah.
doing 5% conventionals. That really
conventionals.
helps.
So what else are you doing? Anybody else got any little tricks, Danny?
No, that's a great idea.
Danny and I were talking about this, so I'm gonna blow the cover off this wide open, but it's not just yours, right? Because you're gonna.
I remember that.
So Danny told me the other day he had this really great idea. How about if, and I'm gonna say, because most people won't do it anyway, right? Because, yeah. Anyway, how about if you ask, if your buyer really wants the property and they're willing to pay $10,000 more than full price, but you know that the agents don't want to take those offers because you know the appraisal's gonna come in low, right? So what if you offer to pay some of the seller's closing costs, right? That was Danny's idea.
Usually only works for standard, they have sort of standard sales. It
Yeah,
doesn't really
it's not
for
gonna
all.
work for everything, but what a great idea. What if you said, I'll pay the buyer's escrow, the seller's escrow fees, I'll pay the seller's title insurance, I'll pay some of the seller's closing costs. How much could that save them? I mean, that's gonna
Absolutely.
work, right? And it's not gonna impact the appraisal, right? So I thought that was a really great idea.
Yeah,
With the
but
letter
along
credit,
those
it's-
lines, this is a different marketplace. I mean, it's, for those of you that have not been in the business for 20 years, it's not normal to have 5, 10, 20 offers on every single property. You know, I don't know what a normal market is, to be honest with you, but that's not normal. But when we're in a more traditional market where you list something today and you don't have 15 offers, you know, by Monday, okay, it's maybe not such a bad idea to go in with an FHA offer, ask for closing costs, ask for some repairs and so on and so forth. That makes sense. But to a little sidebar of what Shelley was talking about, I don't even think you need to be so much creative when it comes to writing and submitting offers. You have to be smart. Most of us, and I say us in this room, we've seen, I mean, Drew comes into my office at least once a week, ready to just quit. And he's frustrated with agents, many of which are in this office, that have written offers which are absolute waste of time.
Amen.
Writing FHA offers on properties that need thousands of dollars worth of rehab. Why are you doing that? Okay? Why are you doing that? Knowing that there's going to be 16 other offers on that property. Some are going to be cash, some are going to be... It is a complete waste of time. Or writing FHA offers on properties that maybe are FHA financeable, but asking for silly stuff. You know? Why are you asking for silly stuff? Or forget about the FHA. We see cash buyers, buyers writing cash offers, asking for repairs and closing costs. You laugh. Is that the norm? We have people writing offers cash that say, I want 2% in closing costs and $4,000 in repairs. Well, why don't you reduce the price, make it clean? Okay, if you want the equivalent of $5,000 in repairs and costs, then write your cash offer for $5,000 less. Okay, we've got to be smart. And again, I don't want to speak for Drew, but I would suggest that probably 85 to 90% of all of the offers that are written on a multiple offer situation, I probably never would have written those offers. Or he certainly would. So why are you doing this? Why are you wasting your time? And I know why they're wasting their time, because the inventory is low and you're forced into that box. Does it make sense though? Does it make sense to write offers that you just know you can't get accepted? So whether it's basically paying seller's closing costs, which is a creative idea, or basically trying to finance the buyer's cost in another fashion with lender credits, I don't know that that's all that novel. It's just smart. I mean, you need to do those same things when the market improves a year or two or three from now. Write smart offers, and we need some help with that. We really, really do. Okay, anybody got any other thoughts on this? I like the discussion.
I also show properties if I can in the middle of the week, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, because I know if the house goes on the market on Friday, by Monday there's going to be 120 offers on it. But if it goes on the market on a Tuesday and I write my offer on a Tuesday afternoon, then maybe by Thursday there's only 2 or 3 offers. So, I don't know, is everybody look at the hot sheet every day? Because I'm looking at the hot sheet every single day, and I'm not looking just at new active listings. I'm looking for stuff that's gone back on the market and stuff that's been price reduced. So you need to become a student of the MLS and the hot sheets. Look at it every single day, because sometimes you run into that buyer who says, I want this house on the lake, and I'll pay top dollar, but, and you're like, yeah, well, that never comes up. But if you keep it in the back of your mind, and that pops up on the hot sheet, call them right away, and you might have a sale because of that.
Yeah. Shelley said something in her previous comments I wanted to touch on, and it's not funny, but it's true. She's kind of looking at Danny and maybe going to tell a secret, and she hesitates and says, oh, I'll tell you because you're not going to do it anyway. Get that? Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, it is true. We could give you the best prospecting tip on the planet, and the sad truth is, and I'm not talking 50% of you won't do it, I'm talking 97% of you won't do it. Now wait a minute, 97%, we got some good agents. We at least have people who are in the top 20. Yes, we do. And even the people in the top 20 who are making a fairly decent living won't do it. Who's held an open house in the last month? Everybody's hands should go up. Everybody's hands should go up. Oh, come on, that's old school, that's a waste of time. I've sat at so many open houses, had nobody through. For those of you that have raised your hand, how many qualified buyers are you getting? Don't even answer it. It's many, right? A couple, 3 hours on a Sunday with almost zero preparation. God forbid if you actually prepared for it, put out some advertising and some flyers and all the rest of that. You just show up for 2 hours on a Sunday afternoon with throw some signs up, you're going to get a half a dozen people come through or more, and you're going to get qualified buyers. Now that doesn't necessarily help the seller side. Well, so then why don't you partner up with somebody while you're holding the open house, pull up this. This isn't a detailed chart, but this is basically Inland Empire, 6,000 notice of defaults filed. Why don't you have a partner on your open house, and while you're holding the open house, do a foreclosure radar search of all the houses within a quarter mile of that, and have your partner go out and knock some doors. Say, hey, I got a model match just like yours that I'm holding open. I think I can sell it for $190. Looks like you're in trouble. Got a notice of default. Why don't we talk short sale business? Guys, this business is so simple. It hasn't changed. I've been doing it for 25 years, and the techniques I was taught were 25 years old or 50 years old. Belly to belly, get in front of these clients. We got to get in front of the clients. I pulled this up. This was a presentation I did last week at an appraisal institute, and these are basically Inland Empire notice of defaults. But we were talking about property, oh, by the way, notice the sales. Notice the sales are still huge. There's 7,500 properties that notice the sales basically in our market area. Go get them. Now, we used to say those aren't good prospects for short sales. Nonsense. They're not going to go to foreclosure in the next 30 days. Go knock on their door and do a short on them. Well, the sale date's for 3 days from now. Previously, the thought would be that's not a good short sale. Now it is a good short sale. Go knock on their door. See what you can do. We talked about values. This is something that I just pulled this up for one reason. There was about 300 people in this meeting I was at, and I asked this question of the appraisers in the audience. Will the lenders in the appraisal industry allow substantial, let me quote my word, artificial price increases over the next 12 to 24 months? I'd like to know the answer to that. If we've got 1.6 months supply of inventory, tons and tons of buyers, basically stable property values, what should property values do? Well, it's artificial, in my opinion. It's artificial because we still have 100,000 properties, to be more accurate, about 98,000 properties between Bakersfield and the Mexico border that are in default today, that are not in the market.
It's not even artificial, it's just undocumentable. To the HBCC and all the appraisal laws they put in place,
Right.
If there's no comps there, there's no way for an appraiser to put that on paper.
Right. Well, but Shelley's question is good, and I put it in quotes because that's my concern with this market. We are creating. I heard today. What's the opposite of not deflation? Inflation. There was saying on
Stagflation?
No, not stagflation. We were talking about real estate. The real estate property values are basically being inflated on purpose. Okay? Keeping the inventory off the market, FHA, whatever it happens to be. The short sale sellers are kind of participating in this whether they realize it or not. Because if we did, let's face it, if we did have all the REO stuff on the market, if we did have all these short sale candidates on the market, in effect we should see probably a fairly stable, and then some people would argue, oh no, that would be bad, property values would decrease. So that's not happening. But my question again, and I don't have any appraisers in the room, what sort of pressure are the appraisals going to be appraisers going to be under, when we start to get these big overbids, a 10% overbid on a property?
Well, that's starting to happen already.
And what are the appraisers doing?
They're not bringing them in.
They're not bringing them in.
Well, and
That's my experience, is they're not bringing them in.
And we had what I was going to bring up in the meeting was, we had a regional meeting on Monday, and in some areas where the values are increasing and you have the multiple offers, okay, if you've got multiple offers, you need to be engaged. Give the appraiser a copy of the multiple offer so that they know that area is increasing. They can see that. Be engaged by, if you know that you're overvalue, put the appraisal on hold. Don't order the appraisal until you know a property is going to close within that same area within a short period of time. So don't let them go and inspect the property if you know something's going to close within a few days. So
yeah, but if you're under contract on that, that ain't going to work. If you're under contract with me on that, that ain't going to work. Janet's going to get beating the starch out of you every other day to make sure that appraisal's been ordered.
She's talking about a couple of days, though.
Well, I'm just talking, I mean, this was on a whole, on the average for this area. I just had one in Indio that was just, that particular area is increasing. They have multiple offers on every deal that goes up in that area. If the appraiser had a copy of the multiple offers, knowing that it wasn't increasing, there were a couple of comps that sold within a few days prior to, so if we would have waited and he would have had those comps, he would have made it easy.
Right.
So it's just be engaged, be aware, know what's going on. So if you have to wait, give the appraiser as much ammunition as you can so that he could make that decision if it's only a few percentage points off.
Right. Well, I'm going to give Joanna the floor here in about 60 seconds here. We talked earlier. She's got some stuff she wants to talk about, some programs out there. Having said that, before I give Joanna the floor for a few minutes, along those lines, this is, in my opinion, this is what we should be seeing. We should be seeing, yes. Talk louder, Rose. I can barely hear you.
I have a question where getting engaged with the appraisers, we're not allowed
Right,
to
we're not.
even contact appraisers.
Right.
Sure we can.
I mean,
Yes, you can.
You can show up you can be at the inspection
Absolutely.
and provide him comps.
Appraisal, you mean?
Yep.
Yes, you can be at the inspection, provide him comps. You don't have to tell him this has to come in at this value.
Well, unless something's changed,
Shelley.
whether we're supposed to and can is different than what the rules are. Because I've had dozens of appraisers since the new, what's the acronym?
HVCC.
HVCC came in, that basically, I've tried, and I know I really can't talk to you, I just want an access and whatever happens. On occasion, they'll call me and ask for comps and stuff. But to me, that's ridiculous. The old school real estate, if you were really doing your job, I don't care whether you're representing the buyer or the seller, you'd meet the appraiser out of the property with comps, whether they wanted them or not, with comps in hand. And you'd address, you'd see him focusing on whatever it was, and you thought, oh, geez, this is going to show up as an item on my correction sheet on the appraisal, and you'd address that. No, that's not an issue. That's not a big deal. I'm going to get my screwdriver out right now and let me fix that. As opposed to, how many people have met an appraiser at a property? Now, I'm not talking since HVCC came in. Prior to that, regularly. Good. Because that's how it needs to be done. But if you can communicate with these, I know it seems like it's a little harder on the buyer's side. If you're on the listing side of the transaction, you certainly are going to get that because they're going to call you to set up an appointment. If I was representing a buyer today, and I talked to Ryan, and he's like, geez, I don't know when the appraiser's coming out, or they can't talk to me. My first phone call would be to the listing agent, and I would say, hey, when that appraiser calls you to set an appointment, let me know. I'm going to be there.
Oh, don't worry, I know.
Oh, well, Ryan knows, because Ryan's special. Okay. But I would venture a guess that most of you representing buyers, you don't know whether the appraisal is being done tomorrow or the next day. No, a few of you are raising your hands, and you figured this out, and you know how important that is.
I usually have if it's a standard sale, I usually have the listing agent go over there with his comps, because they're always claiming, oh, you guys
trust
are
the listing agent?
Well, if they want to get their value, I tell them, hey.
Trust the listing agent?
Yeah.
I don't.
See,
I don't trust any agent.
Trust no one.
most of my transactions, the selling agent's there. I mean, we give the third-party appraisal company the selling agent's number so that they know when they're going out.
Well, not to go too far down that path, because this is a good dialogue actually, but I have a tip for everybody. You are in a transaction alone. You do not want to count on the listing agent or the selling agent or the lender or the title or the escrow to do your job. You've got to do it all to make sure it's done. Now granted, you have good partners. I've done business with this agent before. I've done business with this lender before. I get that. But most of you, of the last 10 transactions that you guys have closed, I would venture a guess that probably 80 to 90% of those transactions were done with an agent that you've never met before, or maybe a lender that you didn't have control of, or an escrow that you didn't have control of, or something you didn't have control of. It's fairly rare you get to do business with people you know and trust. Maybe if you're representing buyers, you get your lender on your side.
Just while we're on this topic, just something that's come up recently. Holly Watts with Maxim Properties, she's one of our contracts, so clients. So we have a huge amount of communication with them. They told us last week they had 350 properties in escrow, 349 with low appraisals, and every single one of them, they will not shrink it down to the appraisal pot. They are saying they want to net the same amount of money, and they'll cancel because they know they can just put it back in the market and get a cash buyer.
But
So
what was that number again?
350 escrows, 349 low appraisals.
Okay, so appraisals aren't a problem.
Yeah.
That's 100%, guys. Well, that's 99.9% of the properties that are in escrow with Maxim have low appraisals. Getting back to this chart, I expect for the rest of this year, these values, irrespective of whether the appraisers are going to be tight and the lenders are going to force them, these are going to go up. And you know why they're going to go up? Our median price is going to go up. And I think we could see I don't want to get too crazy. If we don't see at least a 10% increase in the median value between now and the end of the year, I will be shocked. And you know who's going to do it? It's going to be the cash buyers. The cash buyers are going to come in and set the comps. And then the appraisers will have cover. Because now they'll be able to sit back and say, wow, are cash buyers overbidding?
Yeah.
Drew says no. Drew doesn't see it, but we don't have anything to sell anymore. You can't listen to Drew. He's no longer a good barometer of what's going on in the market. Don't go to him and ask him what's going on. We have nothing to sell.
No, yeah, and I just want to say, I don't know if you guys know, Mike Novak Smith has 3 active listings.
And we have 2.
By the end of this week, we'll have 2.
Right. So you can't talk to Drew anymore. He don't know what the hell he's talking about.
I mean, at one point, Mike Novak Smith had 400 active listings.
Yeah, remember?
Now he
Right.
has 3.
Right.
Wow.
So with that being said, I think the cash buyers are going to drive this up. Then the appraisers are going to have the cover they need. They're going to be able to sit back and say, well, just look at that, look at that, look at that. It's happening, which again is a good thing.
Well, they're still just going off the last close. I mean, and the closes are going up.
Right.
I just had a cash offer on a listing that was listed at 207.5 and a cash offer at 230.
Right.
Wow.
I'm hearing that, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm hearing
It anyway, like I say, if it wasn't for this damn 1.6 month supply, we all should be doing backflips and eating ice cream and cupcakes and buying puppy dogs and all the rest of that sort of stuff. Because this is an exciting marketplace. I do think realistically we're going to be in for a little challenge until we get some inventory here to sell. But at any rate, go get your piece, guys. Go get your piece. That business is out there. You know, if you don't believe me, go talk to Shelley about the weekend she had this past weekend. On a last minute open house.
At what point do the FHA buyers disengage and get frustrated and just throw their hands up? Because I see that happen. I mean, I talk to 3 people a week probably. If I don't get this offer accepted with this client, I'm going to lose them and they're just going to disengage.
No, they'll go to somebody else.
I mean, they'll go to somebody else, but there's still nothing to sell.
True. And that's why I put the word artificial up on the board. Because the consumer knows. The consumer knows the short business is out there. The consumer knows there's still this overhang of foreclosures, and which is why I think they're willing to be patient. But they also see property values at values that they really, really like. So, at any rate, guys, wow, I said we'd be out of here at 10. It's already past 10, and I promised Joanna I'd give her about 10 minutes or so, and I still have another 4 or 5 minutes after that. So, Joanna, why don't you come up, do your thing, and so for those of you that have to leave, I understand. You won't insult me. Otherwise, try to give us another 20, 25 minutes or so.
Actually, I just wanted to cover the appraisal topic that we talked about. Just be engaged, so you know that. I just want to thank you guys for your support. I know several of you guys have sent me leads. Also remember, if you don't see me here, it doesn't mean I'm not working. So I know a lot of you send emails and stuff, but if you'll notice, every email I send out, it has the online website for your customers to apply. That is the quickest way to get your pre-qual. I can do a pre-qual in 20 minutes once your customer applies online. I've sent one to Drew. So send your customers to the website. Once they apply, it takes like literally, and you'll get a strong approval letter. You'll also get, the customer will also get a list of everything that's needed to close that loan up front, so they know exactly what they're dealing with. Other than that,
That's all you got? Okay, well then, just to give Joanna a little bit more love than that, for those of you that are not familiar with Joanna and why she's here, and if you are, who's on our lead router approved list right now, able to accept leads? I mentioned this yesterday when the Chase people were here. I'm going to mention this again right now. If we are getting, while I'm waiting for this to pull up, let me get some glasses. You get a lead that's a Chase REO, what do we have to do? Cross-qual with Chase. If you love Ryan, that's fine. I know a lot of you are doing business with Ryan, and I love Ryan too. But if you're doing a Chase REO, you have to have a Chase pre-qual. You go to our website, which is slow to pull up right now, and you go to financing, you click on our preferred lenders, you got to click on the Chase button, right? Same thing applies on the Fannie Freddie stuff. If this is home path, financing, get pre-qualified. If you get an up call, again, if you love Ryan, that's great. I love Ryan too. And irrespective of what Ryan and Ed say, they are not home path approved.
Yes, we are.
No, you're not.
Correspondent.
You're not. You're not on the list. They're not. Okay? Can you fund them? Yeah, you can through correspondent. But at any rate, my asset managers, right? Right, Joy?
Yes.
I know. At any rate, Durana, Global Banker Mortgage, PHH, are on the home path approved list. Okay? If you're getting the leads through lead router and they ask about home path, again, if it's lead that comes out of this office, you have to use Durana. You have to. Okay? Now let me rephrase that. you have to get a prequal to Durana. If Durana is doing a crappy job and she's not servicing it, I don't expect, in fact, I expect you to tell me that,
Yeah,
and then we'll replace her with somebody else.
that's right.
But on those lead router leads that come through that are interested in home path financing, please use Durana. It's the same thing we talked about with Chase yesterday. Okay? All righty. So, I thought Durana needed a little more time, and she didn't, so I'm going to get us out of here in a few more minutes. Just a quick commercial for escrow. I cannot thank you guys enough for how much you've supported Summer, and frankly the office, by using our escrow. I got to tell you, I hear applause somewhere. Summer, you applauding yourself? Okay.
Gotta believe in yourself.
Frankly, she's doing a good job. If I didn't think she wasn't, I would replace her. But I got to tell you, I think she's doing a great job. And to be blunt, it really, really helps the office. Tremendously helps the office. Margins are tight. Everybody wants higher commission splits. I'm trying to accommodate. You have no idea how nice it is to basically see the support of Summer in this office, and she is doing a great job. So I want to, number one, thank Summer, and I also want to thank everybody who did and thank everybody who is supporting Summer. Legally with RESPA and all the rest of that sort of stuff, I cannot reward you. I cannot pay you to use Summer. I would love to. If I could, I would. Okay? But having said that, I don't think that goes unnoticed. Okay?
Maybe waive our E&O or something.
Like I say, I don't think that it doesn't go unnoticed. Okay?
I thought that's to charge an administrative fee now.
Pardon me?
I thought we were able to charge an administrative fee now.
You can charge an administrative fee. What's that got to do with escrow? You could. There are a couple agents in the office that are doing that already. You got to be careful. Some of the banks, and matter of fact, a lot of the banks won't allow that. If the commission is X, they're going to pay you 3%, and you say 3%, but I want $350 admin fee or transaction coordinator fee. You got to be careful. A lot of the banks won't let you pass that on. But I know there's agents in this office that are doing it on their standards, on their traditional sales. There's nothing wrong with it.
I see it a lot.
What's that?
I see it a lot.
Yeah. I mean, it's a common practice thing. Whether you're taking that money and paying it to your own administrator, so to speak, or whether you're paying it to someone like Bernie for a TC fee, it's certainly acceptable. Okay, property management. For those of you that forgot, we will be doing our property management training. We're doing it every single month after this meeting. So as soon as we're going to adjourn here, we're going to take about a 5-minute break. It's not the same. So for those of you that think, well, wait, he's done this. This will be the third time. He's doing the same stuff all over and over and over. I'm not doing the same stuff over and over and over. I don't know what we're going to talk about today. I feel like evicting somebody, so I think maybe we'll talk about evictions this morning. So, at any rate, if you've got any interest in the property management stuff, come see us after the meeting, and we'll see what we can do there. Other stuff, what do we got? Oh, I haven't talked to Brian about this, but we have. You may have noticed we redecorated the conference room a little bit, and maybe you noticed last month we had that green screen up against the wall. What I'm thinking about doing is once a month having kind of like a video day. And maybe it'll be after the sales meeting, or maybe before the sales meeting. So we'll talk to Brian. We're going to put something on the schedule. So if you'll just know on this day, all day. We want to know in advance, so we're not sitting around here waiting. But we'll have the green screen up against the wall. If you want to shoot a new video, do something special, Brian's done some pretty cool stuff. I won't show it to you, but we have it available right now. We've got a few agents that are taking advantage of it. And I know it's like pulling teeth getting you guys to shoot videos, but anyway, we're going to do that once a month. And lastly, I just want to thank everybody on short notice who showed up yesterday for that Chase event. Okay, I know that was really short notice. I want to thank you, to be honest with you, because you're doing me a favor, you're doing the office a favor. Frankly, I want Chase REO business. I'm doing everything I possibly can to get more Chase REO business. Part of that is, to be honest with you, allowing the folks at Chase to come in and do their dog and pony and so on and so forth. Having said that, I saw a little bit of value in that meeting yesterday, other than just coming in and having them give us a Subway sandwich. I mean, they're this exclusive premier partner, I think, maybe overplayed just a little bit. But if they do allow us to come to their events, and Shelley's right, giving us more buyers maybe isn't exactly what we're looking for right now. But to be honest with you, I'll take it. Okay. they love us, okay? And quite honestly, they love us because we have supported them. The Delgados have supported them, Stephen's supported them. I'm certainly trying to support them as well. So on short notice, I do want to thank you for coming out, because I'm hoping that's going to be more business. At any rate, we're going to get started. We'll get you out of here at 10, I promise. We got an action-packed agenda. Our breakfast toast this morning is oops. June's a good month to start a new diet. So, are you our breakfast toast?
There's donuts in the kitchen.
Oh, there's donuts in there?
I'll take that.
Okay, did you bring those, Ryan? I take it back. Ryan Hoffman, Wholesale Capital Mortgage, is our breakfast toast. I'm still figuring this out. Oh, did you bring something too?
No, I'm in charge of the coffee, so if you're wide awake all day long, I'll take credit for that. If you
Okay.
can't stay awake, I don't know who made the coffee.
Excellent. All right. Well, with Shelley's departure into sales, I'm still getting our calendar straight on all these managerial duties. So, anyway, well, thank you for the donuts, Ryan. So, we're gonna. Where'd Ryan go?
I'm right here.
Oh, there you are.
I'm sitting down for once.
We moved our agenda around a little bit, so Brian's going to take a few minutes to talk about our new phones. So, Captain.
Okay, as you guys are all aware, we've been putting out new phones in all the desks. Moreno Valley was just actually switched over from Panasonic to the new Cisco system last week, actually. So all of the old Panasonic phones have been removed. You only have one phone on your desk now, finally. Phones have been, for the most part, working pretty well. There's been a couple glitches here and there that I've been working through. There's been a commonality of questions that I've been getting a lot of, so I'm going to cover some of the basics real quick. I'll then post the same information on the website. One of the questions I've had is, how do you put calls on hold? On your phones, there's a button that looks like a hand. If you just press that button, it puts your call on hold. Simple as that. To pick that call back up again, just press the blinking light that'll be on the top right where the green lights are currently. And then transferring calls. The easiest and the recommended way to transfer calls, should you need to do that, is by using the button that says Be Expert, or Blind Transfer. On your phone, you'll notice there are 4 buttons below the screen, the LCD screen, and those buttons are not labeled. That's because those buttons become whatever it says on the screen directly above the buttons. So when you're on the phone, those buttons will dynamically change depending on what options are available to you. If you'll notice, right now it doesn't say Expert or even Be Expert. If you're on a phone call, it will. You might have to scroll to the right. If you don't like that for whatever reason, you can have it go to the voicemail here in the office, and then I can have it send you an email with your voicemail as an attachment, rather than you having to call into the office or physically be here to check that voicemail. Another option too is when you make outbound calls from your phone here in the office, I can have it say whatever caller ID you want. The most common request is to have your cell phone on there instead of the office phone number when you make outbound calls. If you guys want that, just let me know and I can take care of that. The easiest way to get any of these requests to me is to send an email to help@cdpre.com. Again, help@cdpre.com. That creates a ticket in my help desk system, which has metrics and some other things to make sure that your work gets done in a timely fashion. Also coming with the phones is the ability to have a phone at your house. Some of you have already contacted me and requested that. My goal is to start deploying those phones this week. Drew has been my guinea pig, so to speak. I gave him a phone, he took it home, and it's been butter so far. The past 3 weeks, I've been working from home a lot, and I've been using the phone to test it pretty heavily, and it's been working quite well. I haven't had any glitches. It's been fine. So, for those of you guys who don't understand what I'm saying is, you don't have to be in the office to have a phone that's connected to the office system. You can have one of these phones that you see on your desk at your house. And if the front desk takes a call for you and they transfer it to your extension, it'll ring at your desk and at home. Okay, so you can be at home and work seamlessly. everyone understand what I'm saying? You don't have to be in the office to work. You can get your office phone calls at home using a phone that we'll give you. Similarly, you can also make outbound calls that look like you're in the office even when you're not, or intercom calls. You know, you need to get a hold of Lance, you got a question about some form you need to fill out, or some advice on how to handle a particular buyer. You simply dial his extension. Similarly, if Lance is working from home, or if he's at one of the other offices and has a phone there, you just dial his extension. You don't have to know where he is or even care. The phone system will find him for you. So that's a couple of the different changes that we're having right now as far as the phones go. Covina is about to port over themselves. They'll be on the new system June 27th. So that's right around the corner. We did Redlands. Redlands was the first one we did, and then we did ourselves. Covina is next. Following that is Claremont. Santa Ana has been on the new system, same thing with REO Asset, using those arrow keys that are directly below the 4 buttons that are below the screen. But if you scroll left and right, there are more options that you can do, one of which is Be Expert. There's also a regular Expert that's a button on there too. That transfers calls as well, but that lets you talk to the person first. Might be useful if you're about to blindside somebody with an angry customer and you want to give them a heads up first. So in those cases, you would press Expert, dial the person's extension, wait for them to answer, and you could then preface the call by saying, hey, I've got Joe on the phone, he's really upset, here you go. Press transfer again, call's done. When you use Be Expert, it's a one-step process. You'll press Be Expert, dial the extension, and that's it, call's on its way. Going calls that want to go to your phone or your cell phone or voicemail, when you guys get phone calls, you have a couple choices on what you want to have happen with those calls. For the most part, I think I've already set up everybody that's requested to have their call go to their cell phone if they don't answer in the office. That's useful for you guys, especially if you don't like checking 5 different voicemails. So in essence, what I can have it do is if somebody calls your extension in the office and you guys aren't there, I can have it automatically go to your cell phone, in which case the caller will get your cell phone's voicemail if you don't answer. Makes it handy so you only have to check one voicemail.